I'm tired of manually crafting, and I'm tired of this big stupid chest, so today we're unlocking Applied Energistics, a much more elegant storage solution that even has access to auto crafting. But it's not going to be easy to get there. There's an entire age of technology between us and it, so let's get started. Off camera, I've been running a ton of passives, so we should be stocked on basic resources. What we really need more of is circuits, and there's no better way to make them than the circuit assembler. Right now, we have to spend all of these resources in order to make one measly circuit, but with the assembler, we can spend only these resources and make two. But we all know this pack by now. The circuit assembler needs an LV emitter, which requires quartzite, which needs an entirely different machine to access, so we're off to a smashing start today. An autoclave can turn dusts into crystals, which is great because we can only get quartzite dust right now. We just need another pump. Delightful, but by the end of this, I won't have to do any of this crafting manually anymore, so it's all worth it. Putting distilled water in the autoclave ensures a 100% success rate, and we have our emitter and assembler not too long after. We no longer need to use steel for circuits, and if you remember last episode, you'll know why that's a blessing. Instead, we use tin, which is free, and everything else is just components we already have, so I bulk up over a stack of circuits. And while that was running, I noticed my EBF had run out of aluminum to smelt, and we have plenty, so I attach a fluid input to it and fill it with oxygen, which isn't a fluid, come to think of it, but oxygen and iron ingots in an EBF make steel way faster than wrought iron and charcoal can in the PBF. It's 25 seconds versus 40. With our stack of circuits, we have a great jumping point for medium voltage, but I'm afraid we won't be able to power a new machine line. I mean, the EBF is still blinking, and it's only one. We're gonna need like 3 more of those today. The new age magnets are just not cutting it really, but I think Create can still help us out. The kinetic sieve is a massive auto sieve that guarantees us resources instead of being random. With it, we can farm diamonds, which can then be converted into a massive amount of power through like magi science or something. In any case, the kinetic sieve takes these treated wood reinforced casings, which look innocent at first, but I actually had to make a chemical bath in order to get the efficient treated wood plank recipe. Then I need to make a macerator to grind down the planks into pulp, and then you need to make a compressor to turn the treated wood pulp into these sheets, and only then could you actually make the things. Oh my god, what are we, a minute into the video and we've already made 5 machines already? What a pace. Getting to slow things down a bit, it turned out we were low on wood, so I got to do some regular old tree farming. This time though, I made Gregtech axes, which can chop trees like a Create mod saw does. And by the way, so many people ask about vein mine. The keybind is called ultimine, okay? But these axes, they don't ultimine, they do this. Log shower, baby. There are many components involved in making the sieve, but an interesting upgrade we had to make is the MV output hatch, since we actually get more than 4 outputs from this guy. Once I'd crafted up all of our components, I tore down our old setup from New Age and began to construct our massive new multi-block. I mean, look at this big, beautiful fella. Under it, I have a drawer system where all we have to do is input into the controller block, and all of the drawers connected to it will be filled up. They don't even have to be touching each other, which is going to be amazing for later. I give the completed multi-block a test run, and it is loud, but also works amazingly, and we see our drawers flood with new diamonds and emeralds and other such accoutrements. But filling this manually is silly, so I think it's time we exploit Create's fast sand processing line here. With a 2-tiered crushing wheel setup and some extra drawers for byproducts, we can process cobble into sand, and then zip that sand right into the input hatch via the drawer network. Of course, we can't just manually input cobblestone into this thing. That would suck. So I moved to make one of my favorite machines from Thermal, the igneous extruder. But while setting this guy up, I realized I've made a critical mistake. I tore down our power supply. The base is completely dried out, and we need an assembler to make the lapidary dynamo that turns diamonds into power. Now, we might be okay if our mixer has enough to finish this. Oh, shoot. We needed that cobalt brass. Okay, quickly now, I slapped together a rickety magnet setup that produces it just enough to finish our crafts. I can't even power the EBF right now. God, we gotta get that dynamo moving now. I rushed the dynamo craft and plugged that into an energy cell, feeding it precious diamonds from our sieve and restoring power to our base, but not for very long, of course. The sieve is just idling. We have to automate this thing. In order to activate the extruder, we need lava, and it is way too slow to make that in a crucible, but in a large stone barrel, it's much faster. And luckily, the big stone barrel is shockingly cheap. With lava and water besides the extruder, it begins extruding, but extremely slowly. We'll need upgrade kits. LV upgrade kits require a special glass that requires another special glass that requires, you guessed it, a new machine. The arc furnace. This guy is actually pretty great. You can fill it with oxygen, and it'll actually smelt glass from sand. And then you can make tempered glass from regular glass. And then we can make hardened glass from lava and tempered glass. For such a transparent block, this recipe sure is opaque. Beyond that, though, LV upgrade kits are absolutely zero problem, and our first goes into making the extruder 4 times as fast as before. so much better. I make some more and push our new dynamo from a stupid 200 FE per tick to 800, but we can do a lot better with the MV upgrade kit, and we definitely need a lot better. Now, MV upgrade kits require Signalum, which for some reason cannot be made in the Create mixer, so I guess making a regular lame one, whatever. But we need to extract the Signalum for this, and to do that, we need an MV extractor instead of our LV one. So, time to make an MV line. Oh boy. We'll have to make our first MV pumps and a few more MV components like for the assembler, and I even get to batch up a few machine holes. For circuits, we can take advantage of the circuit assembler and craft up a few MV circuits way cheaper than before. And with the extractor in hand, we can't quite power it just yet without an MV energy converter, and that takes a good few bits of Signalum, so I have some good waiting around to get to. Instead of just waiting though, I decided to do some chores around the base, mostly just sifting up large amounts of gravel and sending the results through ore processing or smelting it, and I gotta say, it gets very peaceful. And after a while, we have thousands of ingots in excess and our Signalum is ready. And you all know the drill here. Converter into the wires, into the machines, give it some power, and the MV line is active. We can melt Signalum. And now, with melted Signalum, we make the Signalum glass, and soon after, the MV upgrade kits inside of the MV assembler that we made last episode. And boy, do these things cook. We go up to 3.2 thousand FE per tick, and I'm so confident in our diamond supply, I make a second dynamo and upgrade that one too. I even get us diamond tier wires across the base to handle the new power load. With power finally settled, we're one step closer to auto crafting. Next, we should probably address the expense of actually making the machines, because we're gonna need a lot. Since we're starting at MV, we need a huge amount of aluminum, but we can actually automate it. Before that though, I get interrupted by 2 trader llamas with no trader. Feeling bad for them, and kind of being lonely up here myself, I decided to adopt them and give them a small little home. They're nothing like Carl, but they're kind of cute. Name suggestions in the comments? Anyways, with our llamas homed, we can give a jumpstart to aluminum by electrolyzing some green sapphires I had left over, but we really can completely automate it for quote-unquote free. We're gonna need a bunch of machines though for our first processing line, and as I was prepping them, this weird bug happened, where every time I opened a machine GUI, the FPS would tank. I mean, it would hit the floor. I can't record something this laggy, so I tried to fix the issue, but nope, we're being sucked into the 20 FPS zone every time I open a machine. As a last-ditch effort, I tried to restart the game completely, and thankfully, that saved us, but I have no idea why this happened. Those llamas are looking suspicious to me. But with the FPS fixed, I do finish up our crafting session, and we even get to make an MV electrolyzer to add to the new line. I'm gonna be building this one pretty rough and dirty, but it'll work and it'll be awesome too. I start with the electrolyzer, since I want it to be powered up to the existing MV line, and the rest of our machines are LV, and you know, we don't really want those exploding, so we gotta keep them separate. Connected to the electrolyzer, we're gonna need a macerator, and next to that, the output of a large barrel. Into the barrel, I add 4 forge hammers, which all need to be wired together, but ew, not like that. Okay, that's worse. Ah, there we go, better. All right, hook a converter into the power, wire it up, and nothing blew up, so that was a great sign. Last thing we need is an igneous extruder here, since this is a cobblestone-based machine, and I get to utilize the Gregtech conveyor modules to save me some space on using pipes instead. And with cobblestone flowing into our chain of forge hammers, I realized that we need 3, not 4. You only need 3 to make dust. So I fixed that little mistake, and now we're turning cobblestone into dust automatically. The dust then turns into clay automatically, and then that clay gets macerated into clay dust, and finally electrolyzed at medium voltage into aluminum, silicon, lithium, sodium, and water. All the little dusts go in nice drawers, but the water's completely useless, so it gets to go in a fluid trash can, so I don't have to think about it anymore. Now that we have completely free and infinite aluminum, I could really use some more EBFs, but that's gonna have to wait behind a lot of copper nickel wire. Oh, and look at that, it's already done. It only took as long as it took me to edit that last segment. I definitely wasn't just playing cookie clicker for an hour. No, I wouldn't do that, not me. I turn our new wires into even newer coils, and did I just watch a squid dive bomb into the void? Anyways, I don't want to just make more of the same EBF. I'd like to power them with an MV hatch, but that requires us to process silicon wafers pretty heavily, and it's going to take a lot of invention. Silicon arc, go! We need to cook silicon dust and gallium arsenide into silicon boules, but those take forever, so in the meantime, I'm gonna make an MV laser engraver, which needs flawless emeralds. And because I can't read, I made an LV engraver thinking it could fuse emeralds into its flawless form. But no, that's an HV engraver. So instead, I have to make an LV sifter. Not that big boy, but this little guy here who can sift through crushed gemstone ores for gems of varying quality. Uh-oh. The FPS bug is back. Well, at least we have ourselves a very laggy, flawless emerald now. We can now make the MV emitter for the MV laser engraver and add it to the line, but the engravers need special lenses, so we have to make those next. We'll need a sapphire lens for right now, but we don't have any sapphire ore, so I have to hit up the sieves again. I run the sapphire ore through the LV sifter, and while we wait for at least 9 sapphires, we should start acquiring vanadium steel, a metal we're going to need for the MV cutter, which is essential to our plans. Vanadium comes from an ore that we don't have access to yet, so we have to upgrade our meshes to iron. After crafting all the base string meshes, though, I feel like we're getting really low on string, so I plant up a huge grove and invest the entire thing in order to extract insane amounts of string from it. Just look at these worms go. But while crooking the leaves and transporting the string, I noticed leather in my inventory. No, the worst had happened. The brown llama had died. I don't even know how, but it was gone. Ugh. While editing the rough cut for this video, I found this clip. Yeah, I think the silk leaves don't count as a transparent block, and I didn't have my headphones on, so I didn't hear it suffocate. Sorry if you wanted to name it, I guess. With the blood-soaked string, I made a bunch of wool that I used to build a manual sieving platform in order to organize the base a little bit more, but yeesh, this place is getting ugly. But, you know, today's not about making it look nice. That's for another day. We'll definitely get to doing that. The iron meshes are taking a while to craft, and in the meantime, our EBF finishes cooking up some silicon bools. Our meshes are also done around this time, and I slot them into their new home and put them to good use. The only ore we care about, though, is the vanadium magnetite, just not the magnetite half, so we smash that into dusts and centrifuge it to separate the two metals. Now, vanadium steel needs more than just vanadium and steel, naturally. It also needs chromium, which we can only get through medium voltage electrolysis of ruby dust. So I make another electrolyzer and run some smashed up rubies through it. To mix vanadium steel, we're going to need an MV mixer, which requires circuits that we don't have, and we are fresh out of diodes too. So I run copper through the arc furnace to anneal it, because diodes crafted with annealed copper wires are twice as efficient. With double the diodes, I can dive right into making delicious vanadium steel. Delightful. Pop that right into the EBF for smelting. We can now bend the vanadium steel into plates and shape that into a buzzsaw needed for the MV cutter. I also whip up a brewery to make lubricant, since it's the best cutting fluid and it's going to save us a ton of time. Now we can cut the silicon boules into wafers, lay the lucky exquisite sapphire we got into a lens, and etch those wafers with the sapphire lens in the laser engraver. After a bit, they become ULPIC wafers, which we need to cut once more into multiple chips. Only an easy aluminum coil left to make, and we finally have access to medium voltage hatches. Now we need to make 3 more EBFs, but we'd need more LV circuits, so we might as well make the tier 2 versions of them since we can. We'll need a ruby lens, so I start to sift those up until we have a block of them, which I cut into sheets and then lay those into a lens and get some wafers engraving. In the meantime, I realize we're going to need a lot more glue, so I make a ton of witch water and use it to turn a stack of mushrooms into a stack of slime blocks, so that we have slime and resin for days. We can now cut the finished UIC wafers into chips, and we are ready for tier 2 LV circuits, which can also be made into tier 2 MV circuits and even our first HV circuits if we wanted. But for now, they're making some new EBFs. 3 of them to be exact. 4 of these furnaces together is a sight to behold. What a wicked machine. Each has its own item and fluid inputs and shares an output with another. They also require their own maintenance and muffler hatches, but all 4 of them share the one medium voltage energy hatch, so I power it with a beefy 16 amp converter to handle the power load. Firing them up, I notice they work fine, but my FPS drops just looking at them. And I really don't feel like this is actually 90 FPS. Like, what is with my frames today? Well, whatever, I guess, because we're really close to Applied Energistics. We just need a medium voltage autoclave, so time to craft up those tier 2 MV circuits. With the new machine, we can make Certus quartz crystals, a super important Applied Energistics resource. We're also going to need something called star steel, which we need steel and skystone dust for, and that we get from sifting dust and flint meshes. Of course, we're going to need an MV alloy smelter, but with it, those minty ingots are ours. We can now finally make the energy acceptor, our first step into AE2. Problematically, though, I noticed the EBFs don't really like the power they're being given, which is a real pain because we actually need to be upgrading these things. I have to give it another MV energy hatch, but for Applied Energistics, we need silicon ingots, which can only be made in the heat produced by an EBF with Canthal coils. And worse, Canthal is a metal that requires high voltage energy to smelt, and it takes absolutely forever. And this video is already late, and I am already so tired, so we're going to speedrun this last bit, okay, folks? Mix the Canthal, high voltage, not enough power, make some more stuff, there we go. Boom! Most of the Canthal is done, but these ingots are hot. Literally, they deal damage to me and need to be cooled off in a chemical bath. Quite slowly, I'll add. So in the meantime, I make sure to mix up some fluids to help us out in making the AE system stuff. We're also going to need a medium voltage forming press in order to make templates for printed circuits. With the templates made, we can use an alloy smelter to start making those raw circuits, but they're completely useless without silicon. Speaking of, the Canthal is finally done, after hours. 2 stacks of these things, and I start making them up into sweet, sweet Canthal coils. Now, a silicon ingot takes forever if smelted from its raw dust form, and my brain is pretty much melting out of my skull actively. So thankfully, combining carbon dust and silicon dioxide dust gives you silicon way faster. Pretty easily, we can smelt up some glass, grind that into dust, and spin it until it becomes a fundamentally different thing, I guess. Anyways, the coils are ready, and so is our EBF. Oh, the big, beautiful blue. Let's get some silicon schmoovin', because we need tons of it. We need tons of it now. Guess what? Silicon ingots are hot and single and ready to go. I do have this nice moment where I look up to the shooting stars of the sky and try to remember what grass looks like. With silicon done, we can bend it into plates and alloy it into making silicon raw circuits and begin to combine those raw circuits into completed ones. Using logic circuits, we can make 1K, 4K, and even 16K storage parts for storage disks. Now, they can store 16,000 items, but we're going to need a lot of these because of Applied Energistics type limit, which is a stupid rule, but 16K disks should still give us a lot of raw item space. Now, I can use that energy acceptor we made earlier, a disk drive, and a crafting terminal to combine that all into a functional Applied Energistics 2 system. And if you're a channel purist, avert thine eyes, because I hate the channels, so they are gone. Craft up a few more 16K disks and decide that the best way to move our items is to do it all at once. Yeah, okay, that was a bad idea, especially because the types filled up way too fast, and now I've got all these items on the ground, and I have to replace the chest and make even more disks. And then I do it again anyways. Yeah, this was not smart. This was not smart at all. And I still ran out of types. But there's not too many items left, so just a few more disks and finally, Applied Energistics. You might be saying, oh, but you haven't actually set up any auto-crafting yet. And to you I say, I'm so tired.